Hashtag single dad waiting for test results alone, until CEO whispered, "Pretend you're my husband." The hospital waiting room felt like it was closing in on Marcus as he stared at his phone, the screen blurring through his tears. 42 minutes had passed since the nurse had taken Lily, his 7-year-old daughter, behind those intimidating double doors. 42 minutes of imagining the worst. If you've ever felt completely alone during life's most terrifying moments, this story might just break your heart, and then put it back together again. Before we dive deeper into Marcus and Lily's journey, if this story resonates with you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us share more stories that remind us of the unexpected kindness that can change everything when we need it most. Marcus Jenkins never expected to be a single father. 3 years ago, his wife Elaine had kissed him goodbye one ordinary Tuesday morning, headed to work, and never made it home. A drunk driver had seen to that. Since then, it had been just him and Lily against the world. He'd learned to braid hair, to check for monsters under the bed, and to answer impossible questions about where mommy had gone. But nothing had prepared him for the moment 2 weeks ago when Lily had collapsed during her soccer practice, her tiny body convulsing on the field. The preliminary tests had been inconclusive. Today was supposed to provide answers, a specialized brain scan that would tell them if the seizure was a one-time event or something more sinister. Marcus had used up the last of his sick days at the construction company where he worked as a foreman. His boss had been understanding, but bills didn't pay themselves, and the health insurance paperwork was already a mountain on his kitchen table. "Mr. Jenkins?" The receptionist's voice cut through his thoughts. "There's been a slight delay with the equipment. It might be another hour." Marcus nodded, his throat too tight to speak. Another hour of not knowing. Another hour of being alone with his fears. He didn't notice the woman who sat down beside him until she spoke. "Hospitals are the worst, aren't they?" Her voice was warm, with a slight rasp that suggested she didn't use it for small talk often. Marcus looked up, startled. The woman beside him was dressed in a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than his monthly mortgage payment. Her dark hair was pulled back in a sleek ponytail, and despite the early hour, her makeup was flawless. She looked completely out of place in the pediatric neurology waiting room. "Yeah," he managed. "The worst." "I'm Alexandra Reeves," she said, offering her hand. "Most people call me Alex." "Marcus Jenkins," he replied automatically, shaking her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. "Your child?" she asked, nodding toward the double doors. "My daughter, Lily. She's 7. His voice cracked on the number. "Yours?" A shadow passed over Alex's face. "No. I'm here for a board meeting, actually. I'm the CEO of Reeves Pharmaceuticals. We fund the pediatric research wing." She glanced at her watch. "Which doesn't start for another 40 minutes because apparently even CEOs get meeting times wrong sometimes." Marcus attempted a smile but couldn't quite manage it. Alex studied him for a moment. "You're here alone?" The simple question nearly undid him. "Yeah. It's just me and Lily." Before she could respond, a nurse appeared at the door. "Mr. Jenkins? The doctor would like to speak with you before we proceed with Lily's scan." Marcus stood, his legs unsteady. This wasn't part of the plan. Doctors wanting to speak with you before tests was never good news. "Sir," the nurse prompted. "Family only for this discussion." Marcus felt the panic rising in his chest. He needed someone, anyone, to help him bear whatever was coming. That's when he felt a warm hand slip into his. Alex stood beside him, her expression resolute. "Pretend you're my husband," she whispered, just loud enough for him to hear. Then, louder, to the nurse, "I'm his wife. We'd like to hear what the doctor has to say together." The nurse hesitated, looking between them. Marcus held his breath. "Of course," the nurse finally said. "Follow me, please." As they walked through those double doors, Marcus felt Alex squeeze his hand. "Whatever it is," she murmured, "you're not facing it alone anymore." The doctor's office was small and cluttered with medical journals and family photos. Dr. Patel, a woman with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair, looked up from Lily's file. "Mr. Jenkins," she began, then paused when she noticed Alex. "And Mrs. Jenkins. Thank you for coming in." Marcus opened his mouth to correct her but felt Alex's warning squeeze on his hand. "Before we proceed with the MRI, I wanted to discuss some findings from Lily's blood work," Dr. Patel continued. "We've detected some abnormalities that might explain the seizure, but we need more information." The words washed over Marcus like ice water. Abnormalities. More tests. More waiting. More fear. What kind of abnormalities? Alex asked, her voice steady when Marcus couldn't find his. Dr. Patel explained something about elevated protein markers and possible autoimmune responses. Marcus tried to follow, but the medical terminology blurred together. All he could think about was Lily, his bright, beautiful daughter who loved unicorns and could already read chapter books and had her mother's dimples when she smiled. "So what does this mean?" he finally managed to ask. "Is she going to be okay?" Dr. Patel's expression softened. "We don't know yet, Mr. Jenkins. That's why we need the MRI. But I want you to know that if this is what we suspect, there are treatments. Good ones. Children with this condition can lead normal, healthy lives with proper management." "But you're not sure yet," Alex stated, not a question. "No. We need the scan to confirm." "Then let's get it done," Alex said firmly. "What can we do to speed this process up?" Dr. Patel looked slightly taken aback by Alex's directness. "The technician is recalibrating the machine now. It shouldn't be much longer." "Can we see Lily?" Marcus asked. "Of course. She's been asking for you. She's in the preparation room. The nurse will take you." As they followed the nurse down the corridor, Marcus felt like he was walking through a dream. Or a nightmare. He couldn't tell anymore. "Thank you," he whispered to Alex. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did," she replied simply. Lily was sitting up in a hospital bed, looking tiny in the oversized gown. Her dark curls were wild around her face, and she was clutching the stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was a baby. When she saw Marcus, her face lit up. "Daddy. They gave me juice and said I can watch a movie during the big camera thing." Marcus rushed to her side, gathering her in his arms. "That's great, sweetheart. Are you feeling okay?" "My head hurts a little, but the nice lady gave me medicine." Lily's attention shifted to Alex, who hung back near the door. "Who are you?" Before Marcus could answer, Alex stepped forward with a warm smile. "I'm Alex. I'm a friend of your dad's." Lily studied her with the frank curiosity only children possess. "You're pretty. Are you a princess?" Alex laughed, a genuine sound that transformed her face. "No, definitely not a princess. More like, a dragon, maybe." Lily's eyes widened. "A good dragon or a bad dragon?" "A good dragon. The kind that protects treasures." Alex winked at her. "And you look like quite a treasure to me." Lily beamed, then turned serious. "Daddy's scared about my brain pictures. Can you make him not scared?" Marcus felt his heart constrict at his daughter's perceptiveness. He thought he'd been hiding his fear better than that. Alex moved closer, sitting on the edge of Lily's bed. "Your dad loves you very much, so it's natural for him to worry. But you know what? I'm going to stay with him while you get your pictures taken, and we'll be right here waiting when you're done. Promise?" Lily asked, looking between them. "Promise," Alex said firmly. A technician appeared at the door. "We're ready for Lily now." Marcus kissed his daughter's forehead. Be brave, Lillipad. I'll see you soon. I'm always brave, Daddy, she replied with a confidence that made his eyes sting. As the technician wheeled Lily's bed away, Marcus felt his composure crumbling. Alex guided him to a small waiting area adjacent to the MRI suite and sat beside him. She's amazing, Alex said softly. She's everything, Marcus replied, his voice breaking. I can't lose her. I can't. You're not going to lose her, Alex said with such conviction that Marcus almost believed her. Dr. Patel said there are treatments. We'll make sure she gets the best care possible. We? Marcus looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. Why are you doing this? You don't even know us. Alex was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, softer, more vulnerable than the confident CEO who had introduced herself earlier. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, she said. Stage 3. The day I got my diagnosis, I was alone. My assistant had scheduled the appointment between meetings, and I didn't tell anyone what it was for. I sat in a waiting room just like this one, and when the doctor told me, there was no one's hand to hold. No one to help me process what I was hearing. She paused, looking down at her hands. I beat it. I'm cancer-free now. But I never forgot that feeling of facing the scariest moment of my life alone. So when I saw you sitting there. She shrugged. No one should have to do this alone. Marcus didn't know what to say. The lump in his throat made it impossible to speak anyway. Besides, Alex continued with a small smile, your daughter thinks I'm a dragon. That's the coolest thing anyone's called me in years. The MRI took nearly an hour. They sat mostly in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Occasionally, Alex would check her phone, sending brief messages that Marcus assumed were related to the board meeting she was missing. Aren't you going to be in trouble? He asked eventually. For missing your meeting? Alex smiled, a hint of mischief in her eyes. It's my company. The board can wait. When Lily was wheeled back into the recovery area, she was groggy but smiling. The machine was super loud, Daddy, but I pretended I was in a spaceship. That's my girl, Marcus said, smoothing her hair back from her forehead. Dr. Patel appeared shortly after, her expression carefully neutral. We'll need to analyze the images more thoroughly, but I can tell you that there's no sign of a tumor or structural abnormality, which is excellent news. Marcus felt his knees go weak with relief. Based on all the tests, I believe Lily has a condition called autoimmune encephalitis, Dr. Patel continued. It's when the body's immune system mistakenly attacks the brain, causing inflammation. The good news is that it's treatable with immunotherapy and steroids. And the prognosis? Alex asked, her hand finding Marcus's again. With prompt treatment, most children make a full recovery, Dr. Patel said. We'll want to start treatment right away and monitor her closely, but I'm optimistic. The next few hours passed in a blur of paperwork, medication discussions, and treatment plans. Through it all, Alex remained by Marcus's side, asking insightful questions and taking notes when Marcus was too overwhelmed to process the information. When Lily was settled in a hospital room for her first round of treatment, Marcus finally had a moment to step outside and call his boss to explain the situation. When he returned, he found Alex sitting beside Lily's bed, reading her a story from her phone. And the dragon used her fire not to burn the village, but to light their way through the darkness, Alex was saying as Lily listened, entranced. Marcus leaned against the doorframe, watching them. Something warm and unfamiliar bloomed in his chest, not happiness exactly, but perhaps hope. For the first time in 3 years, he didn't feel completely alone. When Lily drifted off to sleep, Alex quietly stood and joined Marcus in the hallway. I should go, she said. My assistant has rescheduled the board meeting for tomorrow, but I have about 1,000 emails to answer. I don't know how to thank you, Marcus said. What you did today. I don't have words. Alex smiled. No thanks needed. Just take care of that amazing daughter of yours. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a business card. My personal number is on the back. If you need anything, medical referrals, second opinions, or just someone to sit with you during appointments, call me. Marcus took the card, turning it over in his fingers. Why do I get the feeling you don't give this number out to many people? Because I don't, she replied simply. But dragons look out for their treasures, remember? As she turned to leave, Marcus called after her. Alex? Would you maybe want to have coffee sometime? When all this settles down? She paused, looking back at him with a smile that reached her eyes. I'd like that very much, Marcus. 6 months later, Lily was in remission. The treatments had worked better than even Dr. Patel had anticipated. She was back at school, back on the soccer field, and back to filling the house with her laughter. And Marcus was no longer facing life alone. Coffee with Alex had turned into dinner, which had turned into movie nights with Lily, which had turned into something neither of them had expected to find. On the anniversary of the day they'd met, Marcus took Alex back to the hospital, not to the waiting room where they'd first spoken, but to the rooftop garden that overlooked the city. Lily was there too, bouncing with excitement because she was in on the secret. Why are we here? Alex asked, looking between them suspiciously. Marcus took her hands in his. 1 year ago, you told me to pretend you were my wife so I wouldn't have to face the scariest moment of my life alone. Alex's eyes widened as she began to understand. Today, I'm asking if you'd consider making that pretense a reality. Marcus dropped to one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Alexandra Reeves, will you marry us? Lily stepped forward, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. Please say yes. Daddy practiced this speech like 100 times. Alex laughed through her tears, looking at the two people who had somehow become her family. Yes, she said. 1,000 times, yes. As the sun set over the city, casting golden light across the rooftop garden, Marcus thought about how life could change in an instant, sometimes for the worse, but sometimes, miraculously, for the better. 3 years ago, he'd lost his wife and thought his heart would never heal. 1 year ago, he'd sat alone in a hospital waiting room, terrified for his daughter's life. And now, here they were, Lily healthy and thriving, and Alex looking at him with love in her eyes. All because a stranger had sat down beside him and whispered 7 words that changed everything: pretend you're my husband. Sometimes, the family you find is just as precious as the family you're born into. Sometimes, the darkest moments lead you to the brightest futures. And sometimes, when you're at your most alone, someone appears to remind you that you don't have to face life's challenges by yourself. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to our channel for more stories that celebrate the unexpected connections that make life beautiful, even in its most difficult moments. Remember that kindness costs nothing but can mean everything to someone who's struggling. And you never know when a simple act of compassion might change not just one life, but many.